And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, another edition of the Code for Giants Cup number 10. I'm of course your ZvT. With me, I'm joined by these amazing Brazilian players and by these amazing people in the chat. Welcome, good morning, everyone. Bright and early here. It is almost 9 a.m. here in the morning in Australia, but we are live. We are back with some Brazilian on Brazilian StarCraft action. For those that are curious, this is Code for Giants Cup. It is a Brazilian-only bi-weekly tournament every 2 weeks. We do host this event. I say we, shout out to Cosmos. Cosmos is the big name, the big person behind this tournament. And we're back, we're live. Exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the bracket yourselves. The bracket is stacked, the bracket is massive. It was a little bit overwhelming trying to find our starting players, but we have found them and we know where we're headed. There's a lot to go over when it comes to the bracket, but here we go. We're getting into our first matchup of the night, and spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have... oh, God. I mean, it's bright and early in the morning. We're good. We have the Brazilian Zerg player, the Blue Zerg, representing Ximi's Gaming. It is mrTT. mrT. And in the top left-hand corner, we have the Purple Terran player, representing Team Host Masters. It is Fehlen. Have our ZvT for in the chat's predictions. Predictions should now be open. Place your bets on who you think will claim the series and advance on into the next round. As a reminder, this is going to be a best of three, not a best of five or anything else there. Or we'll have a best of five for the grand finals, best of threes leading up to it, of course. And how do these two players compare to each other? Now, I have not had the luxury of casting either of these in the past, either Fehlen or mrT. I'm unfamiliar, so I'm ready to be introduced. I'm ready to kind of bear witness here to their level of play. Otherwise, hope you've all been doing well, all yourselves. It's been a pretty intense week of StarCraft, day after day, back-to-back broadcasts, and today is no different. We have two casts today. We have the Code for Giants Cup here in the morning, and we have OSC mid-season playoffs in the evening as well. So, oh boy, back-to-back broadcasts. Because I probably won't have a ladder session today. It's a lot of casting. It's a lot of casting, and I think I need a break. So, and by a break, I mean I need to edit VODs. The VODs over the past like 4 or 5 days have been stacking up, and I do have to edit them. I have to schedule. I have to work with that. There's a lot to do. there is a lot to do outside of just casting. But for now, we can focus on a match ahead of us. It is going to be a Hatchcast full standard opener out of our Zerg player. Nothing too crazy. Link speed is on the way. Reaper has arrived. We are staying on 2 bases, though. We have a more delayed third from the side of mrT. Interesting. We'll see when or if we even decide to go for the third base. Now, the first Reaper getting 1 Link kill already. As Fehlen does kite back. Oh, and the predictions, of course. I got you. You're open. As almost every single link goes down, the efficiency here. Fehlen getting a lot of damage dealt with the first Reaper. mrT falling back, now going for a third base. Gonna be a delayed third, but thankfully the Reaper is not quite in position and the third base will get up and running. Whew. Very nicely done. Meanwhile, across the map, it is gonna be a 1-1-1. A third CC. No, yeah, 1-1-1. For some reason there, it looked like the starport was larger than it was. But a much more aggressive, much more assertive opener here out of the Purple Terran. You rarely see 1-1-1s nowadays, as you often do go for a faster third CC instead. So a much more aggressive and assertive start here from the Purple Terran player, and we'll see where it leads us. We'll see if it leads into a 2-base all-in. 2 may get shut down. Early lair. Oh my god, I was curious. So again, the third base was suspiciously late for mrT, and an insanely fast lair. This, okay, could be for roaches, could be for 2-base Muta. Roach Warren has been thrown down, and mrT is going to be embracing heavy roach aggression. Meanwhile, Fehlen, because of the 1-1-1, I was curious what it was going to lead into as well. Hellbat push. Armory's on the way. It's going to be a Hellbat push up against a Roach Rush, and I do want to favor the Roaches in this scenario here. Hellions and Hellbats do not trade well at all against more robust units like the Roach. So both players are being hyper aggressive, and the way these two builds shape up with each other, I do want to favor the Zerg. I do wish to favor mrT in this scenario. Overseer Scout coming in, we'll get eyes on everything in the main, and it has already caught a glimpse of the Armory, which is a big tell. So mrT will just confirm. Roaches are in production as we speak. Again, it's one of those things. where mrT, this wasn't a response to what he's saying. He was always going for this Roach Rush, and the two builds will shape up against each other. Changeling here towards the south. Overseer scouted into the main, does confirm the lack of CC, does get eyes on the Hellions and the armory, and he has seen everything he needs to, and all mrT needs to make from here on forward is Roaches. And that is another rack, still no third CC. Oh my god. Hellions are moving out, Stim is on the way. Now, I assume that this is going to be like a 2-on-1 kind of Stim timing with Hellbats, but the Hellbats will hit first and Stim later on. As Hellions they dive in, Roaches are in position, the Hellions are deflected. And now it's time to counterattack. Now it's time to chase this down. I mean, if the Roaches move out, the Hellions can move in, so these Hellions are going to keep the Zerg player pinned back at home for a time. As they do thread in the main. Roach speed about to kick in. Oh. Doesn't quite commit. mrT a little bit supply block after losing the Overseer. But yeah, the Roaches are moving out. And from here, oh my god. From here in the main base, we do have a Liberator laying siege, getting quite a bit of damage done. Not killing many workers, but does get a Queen. Now mrT can go back to mining, and again, he has to commit. Now across the map, tanks are on the way, and tanks are going to be the answer. They're going to completely shut down this aggression unless we get Ravagers out. There we go, Ravagers are on the way. Meanwhile, we have a full wall, we have 2 bunkers, we have a tank. Fehlen, he has realized how much danger he's in, and he's walling up. He's walling up at the same time. No! At the same time, Hellions, they do bypass the Roaches. They head straight for the mineral line, they head straight for the main. Roaches, they have to race back home. At the same time, mrT has to commit as well. And drones are getting roasted. Massive damage in the mineral line. 12 drones going down. 14 workers do fall. mrT is completely all in. One way or another, the game is about to end. Either mrT breaks this natural, or he dies trying. I say that he's droning. He's droning back at home. Oh, the wall is open. The wall is open. The first tank is going to go down. Yeah, just the one tank, but that bunker's within range, and that second tank here just behind it, or just underneath it. Yeah, massive volleys going off. Fehlen, he will defend, he will hold. And now mrT is suddenly in a really rough position. He's got a lot of droning to do. His tech isn't ideal either. mrT has to do the best he can to contain his opponent and to transition. Meanwhile, Fehlen is now going into his third. Third CC is very late, but it is on the way. And if mrT can contain Fehlen for long enough, he can stabilize. He can, but will he? Okay, you get the Ravager. The Lib. Lib is going to go down. Files do connect. Can we deny +1? It's going to be ambitious to try to do so. Lings have ride files. They connect with the eBay. Oh, not quite with the armory. Armory will survive. +1 does finish. +1 does complete. Back at home, mrT still droning, going into Aspire. And again, mrT has to buy as much time as possible. Keep the Terran player pinned. Fehlen, he's heavily oversaturated here at the natural. He needs a third. Does need that third base. LD Pro does fall. Liberator's moving out. Drop as well, and mrT has to back off. Has to retreat, now Fehlen can expand. mrT racing back. When it comes to his army, he's working with only a handful of Ravagers. Spire is halfway done, and the Spire won't be scattered yet. They're ready to siege up. Going for multi-pronged aggression. We do deflect the drop, but here towards the left-hand side, drones are going down, and 3 worker kills. The Spore will clean this up, but dropping to the main base, scouts the Spire. He sees, he knows. The Spire has been scouted, and Fehlen is fully aware of what's going on. Does target fire 7 drones as well. The economy of mrT, it's hurting. Likewise, the Spire's been scattered. Back at home, turrets. We should be seeing turrets. I'm hoping that Fehlen is aware of what he saw. Checking his vision. Yeah, he did confirm that Spire. No turrets yet, though. Fehlen instead is moving out. Meanwhile, he's moving out with Stim, +1 combat shields, +1 vehicle weapons as well. And this move out may just end the game, as there's not much on the ground to defend. There's mutas, but mutas, they melt against all these marines. On the ground to support, there's only 8 ravagers. The mutas are revealed. The tank is exposed. Tank is going to go down. Another best setup here from Fehlen. But he will snipe the hatchery, and he can keep going, and he should keep going. Still rallying across the map. Now he has to preserve his stims. Links are on the way. Has he taken too much time? The mutas! Oh my god! Yeah, so many mutas do go down. Expensive loss here for mrTT. Ah. He pities the fool. God. As he will shut down the third. Yeah, third base is going to fall. Liberator has arrived, and mrTT, he just had such an aggressive start and it just did not pay off. And was trying to recover this entire time and just hasn't been able to. Bathing speed is almost done. Bathing speed kicks in. Up. Does go for the dive, but the tanks do siege. Yeah, Bathing's a crash into the tanks. Fehlen, he will hold his own. Still rallying across, more marines to work with. Rotating over. And these ravagers are looking so vulnerable. He wants them. Oh my god. Doesn't quite engage, bringing in my no medevacs. No support. He goes for the stim. With enough Ling Bane, it looks like, oh my god, the connections! The Baileys do connect. And Fehlen will have to back off. He will have to retreat. mrTT holds, but at what cost? He's down to 55 workers. He's down to 2 bases. Third base just now getting back up and running, double expanding. Stuck on Ravager. Meanwhile, back at home, Fehlen, he's thriving. He has a bank, 2 CCs, 3 CCs being thrown down. Spending his money however he can. The macro back at home has been slipping, but it's all good. He can still maintain himself. Moving out with a double drop. Moving out with a Viking. Hunting down more overlords. Secure back at home. And at this point, a lot needs to go right, or a lot needs to go wrong for Fehlen for mrTT to come back in this game. Like catching out some of these drops, isolated, with Fehlen not quite paying attention. Links are bleeding out. Ravagers, they will trade well against these marines at least. Viking lands at the natural, drop into the main, a tri-pronged attack. On the light shot. Ooh, big connections. Drones are going down and mrTT is being pulled apart. Not like this. 14 worker kills. On the mine. Does friendly fire. mrTT will defend. He will clean this up. He will shut down the drop. But it's not really about the drop play that I'm concerned about. It's about the main push. It's about this. I mean, oh my god, there are so many tanks. He's making three tanks at a time? Jesus. It's a bit excessive, not gonna lie. A little bit, but alas, that's gonna be a lot of tanks. Plenty of bio to work with as well. I mean, less bio as a result. But Fehlen does have a massive lead. Taking another expansion. Triple expanding as we speak. Getting more command centers. Moving out. And as amazing as some of these Baneling nations have been, I mean, they're going to be that much less effective against this amount of tanks. As mrTT is pushing forward. Yeah, at this point he's rallying across the map, this time with medevacs, so he can sustain his marines, he can stim. Tanks are sieging up. And mrTT rallying into the army. Not like this. The tank volleys are insane. They shut down the Ravager, shut down the Ling Bane. The rest of the army does rotate over. But Fehlen drags him into tank fire. Yeah, the volleys are too great. The base will fall. And Fehlen is going to take a lead in this series. As the third has been broken, mrTT falling back to his backup third base. Now his X4th, now his third. Leads out 10 workers. And Fehlen is maxed. At this point, he doesn't even have to siege up his tanks. He can just move in. As liberation has arrived, he has freedom. The freedom is here. ZvT building up. And this is going to be the last stand of mrTT with what little he has left. GG gets called, and Fehlen will take game number 1. Whew. GG. A very intense game, a very intense start to the game, to the series as well, where we did have essentially kind of 2 base all-in versus 2 base all-in, both players playing very aggressively at the start of the game. But what was important was that mrTT was able to scout and confirm the roach rush of his opponents and able to wall up back at home. With bunkers, with tanks, Fehlen was able to just secure himself on 2 bases, and we saw mrTT just ram his face into the brick wall that was Fehlen's natural. With that, he was able to snowball out of control, get a 3rd base, just trade more efficiently, and trade more effectively against the Roach Ravager all-in. And with that, GG. GG, well played. Fehlen will take the first game, and we'll see if he can take this series here. Oh boy. I'm hoping for a back and forth. I'm hoping to get an ace match here between these 2 players, but they are quite similar in skill, and yeah, this could still go either way. Could go either way as we are getting ready for game number 2. Getting ready for that second game. When it comes to the bracket, we'll go over the bracket after this series. There's a lot to go over, and I'm still waking up. I totally didn't just wake up and then jump on cams. Aye. But of course, as a bit of a teaser, Eric is here this week. He wasn't here last week, unfortunately. We did miss him, but is going to be here this time. So of course, we're going to do our best to cover our boy and cover Eric. We'll be there. We'll be there. Oh, shout out to Karobu in the chat. My coach is playing. Go mrTT. Let's go. I want to believe he can force an ace match. I want to believe. After midnight in Poland. Yeah. It's quite late in Europe. Quite late in Europa. Siema. So you see Grail in the chat as well. See Grail the Andariel. Noganzo. Wormshake, Werehug as well. Good to see you. Good to see you. As we are getting ready here for our next game. It looks like, oh my god, what were the vetoes? We're going to be loading into Ghost River as game number 2. Once again, a very small map, much smaller than Oceanborn, and if our players did want to open up 2 base all-in again, then this would be a good map for that. As a reminder, the Terran player opened up 1-1-1 into a Hellbat push into a very delayed 3rd base. Meanwhile, we had mrTT open up with a fast lair. It was a 3-minute 30 lair timing into roaches, into a roach rush as well. So both players kind of like went into their own forms of aggression. It could happen again, or we could see some standard macro games. We'll see. We shall see. As our players are getting ready here. And you can hear the beats. We're loading into game number 2. We are loading into that second game. I was just having a look at the chat. Shout out to Eon Blue. He's an animal. We love him. Here we go. We're getting into that second game and spawning in the top right-hand corner of Ghost River. We have the red Zerg player from the land of Brazil representing Eximius Gaming. It is mrTT. And in the top left-hand corner, we have the purple Terran player from the land of Brazil representing Team Host Masters. It is a Fehlen. Oh, like he's a felon. Ah. I might get it. We'll see. Yeah, the Fehlen versus mrT. Let's go. And again, my eyes now going to be peeled here for the openers of our players, just because of how aggressive they were in that first game. I want to see how they compare in game 2. Are they both just aggressive players and that's their go-to, or do they have a little bit more breadth, a little bit more depth to their play, and do we see something more standard instead? Now again, we're loading into Ghost River, shortest, the smallest map of the map pool, second shortest rush distance by ground. I believe Post Youth is shorter by 1 second, I think, if I remember correctly. So it is slightly faster. And it is going to be Hatch Gas Pool. Everything's looking standard so far from the side of our Zurich player. Likewise, Rax Expand at a Fehlen. So it is going to be standard openers at least, but the follow-up is what I'm curious about. Let's go. Now, going to be dipping in, getting some scanning information. SvT does confirm the standard play here of his opponent. Just getting myself sorted. As interesting. Okay, it's going to be a Rax Expand, that is true, but it's a CC on the high ground. Meanwhile, it's Roaches again. Okay, let's go. Now, there's a couple of different things that are going on right now. On the one hand, this is not the same build as last game. Remember, last game it was a 330 lair into a Roach all-in. This is a straight up Roach rush straight away. We're skipping Ling speed, going straight into the Roach Warren, and this is going to hit a lot earlier, a lot faster for mrTT. And I do like this on this map. Specifically on Ghost River, we mentioned how small the map is, so I do think this is going to be a little bit more favored. Can have a lot of potential here. Meanwhile, ooh, the Lings are getting on top of the Marines. Marines have to back off. They're pinned against the wall. No! Both Marines will go down. Now, what is scary is that Fehlen skipped the Reaper. He did skip the Reaper. He went for an SCV scout, but no Reaper means no follow-up scout, which means Fehlen is in the dark. He has no idea what is coming his way. He doesn't know he needs bunkers ready. He doesn't know he needs to prioritize Cyclone or tank production. He's getting into a 2-1 setup with a Widow Mine? Ooh. This is odd. This is a very unique setup here. And again, Fehlen doesn't know that he's in danger. That's the biggest problem right now. He's working with incomplete information. Wouldn't mind setting up. Marines are amassing, that is true, but this army melts against Roaches. And this time the aggression is favored for mrTT. Like mrTT, he's moving out across the map, and I don't know if there's much that can stop him. Sure, he's gonna lose a Roach to the Widow Mine, but I don't see him losing the battle here against the Marines. Not with this many Roaches, but we'll see. The Roaches have arrived. Fehlen now knows he has to back off. Macho goes up, softens up the Roaches. And mrTT push himself up this ramp. The wall, ooh, does get up and running. Bunker, see the bunker now on the way, but it's so late. Widow Mine will burrow. Mine shot, oh, will go up. Not bad, takes down 3 Roaches so far. 3 or 4th Roaches falling. And mrTT is not trading well up this ramp. Yeah, there's 3 Marines left. Oh my god. Another mine shot goes off, 3 Roaches remaining. And Fehlen's holding. Fehlen is holding. Behind this, mrTT is droning up. He's saturating his bases. Trying to maintain the economic lead. But this was pretty efficient here from Fehlen. It wasn't the cleanest of holds, and looking at the trades here, a lot of Widow Mines and Marines did fall, but what I will say is that at least Fehlen didn't lose any SCVs. Like the workers, the mineral line is kept safe and sound. He's still making workers behind this, getting into tank production, getting into Liberators as well. Fehlen holds, Fehlen defends, and Fehlen can expand. Back at home, mrTT droning up as heavily as possible. This time, I will say that mrTT's economy is not as dire as it was in the previous game, just because he droned up so quickly and so heavily. So his economy is looking solid. With all these gases, he can head into a lair, head into Roach speed. I would hope to see that momentarily here. Oh, never mind, going into a Baneling nest. Okay, that is a little bit early here for mrTT. It is a little bit early, but it looks like he's just trying to play really safe. The problem is that this will delay the lair. As Ravagers, they shut down some of these depots, but it's going to be a one-way trip. Oh, they get the tank! 3 biles! Very nice pickup. Tank goes down for 1, potentially 2 Ravagers, just the 1. SCVs are going down. These Ravagers getting a lot of value. Yeah, these Marines in the bunker were necessary to defend. They would have shut this down. But Fehlen, otherwise distracted, Liberator harasser across the map, gets a queen, gets drones. Not bad. But again, he has to deal with these Ravagers. The high-yield depot on fire as well. We can't afford to lose that. These are some expensive losses, yet the supply block is brutal. And finally, the bunker is unloaded. Finally, the Ravagers are cleaned up. Liberator does reposition, denying more mining time. And as the chaos does settle, mrTT finds himself with a nice economic advantage. Lair is now on the way. It was delayed, but is now in production. And he's looking pretty safe. Meanwhile, Fehlen needs to wall up. Desperately. Needs to wall up. Massive link flood coming in. And there's no wall. He needs it. And it's not here in time. Yeah, just barely no links. They flood in. They get into the natural. Marines are going down. Tank as well. And the boys, they're trying to be pulled, but the tank will still fall. And the wall into the main base is wide open. Oh, and this is critical damage. 9, soon to be 10 SCV kills. 11 even. The mules, another tank. And these losses are brutal for the Terran. And again, Fehlen, he had a good start. He had a very good start, but he underreacted to the Ravagers. He lost, what, 6 depots? It was insane how much he lost to the Ravagers. It was crazy. And the link flood continues. There's no reason not to. Behind this, getting to 2 base muta, or kind of 3 base muta, essentially. Rushing into the Spire. Ooh, taking up into an infestation pit. Very tech heavy. Drone count is still quite low for mrT, but it's higher than that of his opponent. I am concerned if mrT commits a little bit too hard here, but he should have enough to break through the wall. That's a lot of banelings. That's a lot of links. And the wall is gonna be broken. Oh, it's not open. Oh god, it's wide open anyway. Link Bane floods in, going for the Marines. Oh, big tank volley is going off. But alas, the Marines go down, and the tank will hold. Oh my god, that's a lot of mules. That's a lot of mules here at the natural. One of them does fall. Behind this, only 2 CCs. There is no third. And the Spire might be the nail in the coffin here with those mutas. mrTT double expanding, getting a 4th, getting a 5th. Taking all of his gases. Getting into 1-1. And even a lair as well. I feel like the lair is a little bit unnecessary, but again, why not? He is safe to do so. And across the map, we're not ready for the mutas. There's no turrets. There's no scouting, of course. 3rd CC is now on the way for Fehlen. But he needs more time. So much more time. And he's not going to get it. The mutas are moving out. You know, this skin always bothers me because it looks like how are they flying? As in, like, the wings look more fragile than they usually are. I'm pretty sure in the lore it isn't actually the wings that keep them afloat. Maybe it is, I don't know. Aye. Mutas, yeah, they dive into the main. The mineral lines are exposed. SCVs are going down. Marines forced to respond. At the same time, Lings, they hit the natural. Fehlen will hold for the time being. Oh, but the depot goes down. Lings, they flood in. Boys are being pulled with a friendly fire. Oh, yeah, the tank shots are brutal. So many SCVs go down. As the tank kills more SCVs than Lings. And again, Fehlen's being pulled apart. At the same time, there's some libs harassing across the map. They are getting some nice damage, don't get me wrong. It just pales in comparison to the damage dealt here at the natural. Scan reveals saturation at the 3rd. Things looking quite dire here for Fehlen. But he's holding. He's holding on. For now. GG gets called. Fehlen taps out and mrTT does have the series 1-1. We are going to the ace match. Let's go. We're going to game 3. And we'll see where this takes us. We'll see how this story ends. Honestly, this could go either way. We've seen both games mrT be hyper aggressive, both in game 1 and in game 2. We've seen even in game 2 here in this second game, like Fehlen defended quite nicely. I was very impressed with the defense of the Terran player. It was just the follow-up where he was struggling a little bit more, where he was having a harder time multitasking. He was harassing across the map with Liberators. He was struggling back at him to defend. And yeah, it was the triple Ravager which really worked out quite well for mrT. Where he was able to snipe so many of those depots, supply blocks, snipe a tank, snipe a lot of Marines, and it did allow for the follow-up Link Flood and the follow-up Link Bane Bust as well to get more and more damage. It all just snowballed out of control from those Ravagers. And now we have the ace match. We're going to be loading into Golden Aura. Oh boy. Here we go. Getting into that final game. And this can still go either way. But I'm glad that we've gotten at least all 3 games out of the series. Gone to the ace match. Here we go. We're loading into Golden Aura. Now the question becomes, at what point do we see the Roach Warren from mrT? At one point. We've seen it a little bit later, we've seen it earlier. I'm sure we'll see it at some point in this game. We have to. At spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Golden Aura, we have the Brazilian Zerg player, the blue Zerg representing Zimi's Gaming. It is mrTT. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have the Brazilian Terran player, the purple Terran representing Host Masters. It is Fehlen. We have our initial openers, and again, my eyes, they have to be on the Zerg player. It is going to be a hatch first. Once again, hatch gas pool, but it's been hatch gas pool every game so far, but it's still been aggression out of the Zerg player, and I'm sure Fehlen is aware. I'm sure Fehlen is now a little bit more on notice and should be going for a safer opener. Really, this is the time for the Zerg player to be hyper greedy, right? To go, I don't know, gasless. He's not going to go gasless now, but to go gasless into a fast third hatchery and be as greedy as possible. The other big thing, I do hope that Fehlen does go for a Reaper this time. If you remember last game, he skipped the Reaper scouts and was caught with his pants down a little bit. Hoping for a Reaper this time. Spray has been thrown down, the GLHF, and there it is. Reaper is on the way. So this time Fehlen will be scouting. We'll be keeping an eye on mrT. Is going to keep an eye on him. Back at home, getting traditional queens into our lings. Everything's looking normal so far. mrT has the first 100 gas, and he will invest into ling speed, but more importantly, doesn't pull out. He does not pull out of gas, and this should lead into roach play. There's no reason to mine gas this much, this early on, without going for a Baneling Nest, or a Roach Warren, or a Fast Lair, or all of the above. So our eyes are definitely on mrT. Meanwhile, third base is late. There's a drone in position to expand, and we should be seeing expansion soon. Yeah, there we go. Third base now being taken. That is still a lot of gas. I imagine Lair, yeah, there we go. It's going to be a 3-minute Lair here from mrT. Very early. Reaper comes in for the scout, though. Fehlen, an important moment for him. Dives into the main base, gets eyes on the building Lair. And there's still more gas on the way. Now, this could be a couple different things. This could be a Nidus all in. This could be You know, 2-base Roach, could be 2-base Muta. As we can see, Roach Horn has been thrown down. I don't think Fehlen has seen the tech at the front. Yeah, he has yet to confirm. He does get eyes on the 3rd base, so he knows that it's unlikely to be a 2-base all-in. I mean, the 3rd could just be for Larva, true. So he should still be on notice. Back at home, 1-1-1. I do like this start from the Terran player, just being safe. I mean, it's aggressive, but also safe at the same time. Delaying his 3rd. Getting to Hellions, +1 range on the way. Oh, he's going for the same build as game 1. I'm not fond of this. Fehlen going for a Hellbat push. I mean, he hasn't seen the Roach Horn, which is a little bit on the Terran player there for not checking. There was nothing to stop the Reaper. And without seeing the Roach Horn, we're setting up for a Hellbat push. But once again, just like game 1, Hellbats, they won't really do much against Roaches. The armory is scattered. mrTT is now aware. I mean, the Overlord saw the armory anyway. So these Roaches are going to fare better here for the Zerg player. But the question becomes, does mrTT try to commit to breaking the natural, or does he make Roaches to defend and then drone? For now, he's not. There's no drones. There's no drones here at the 3rd base. It's hyper aggression from the Zerg. Despite the lair, there's no Roach speed, which is a little bit concerning. Reaper goes back in. We'll check the natural, spots the Roaches. So at least Fehlen now knows Marauder production has begun. But again, these Hellions and Hellbats, they can buy time at least. Hellions are moving out. So are the Roaches. Ooh, upon seeing the Hellions or the Roaches, they do turn back. Now, the Hellions have potential to get economic damage done, but they can't really touch the Roach army. Speaking of, the Roaches are revealed. Ooh, they snipe 2 Hellions. The Hellions, they try to flood in. There's only 4 Hellions left. They make it into the middle line. Drones are lighting up. Oh my god. Yeah, the workers do line up and massive volleys go off. Not like this. 13 drones go down. And we're not done. We're gonna get 14 worker kills, 14 drones in between the main and the natural. Meanwhile, Liberator is still alive. Does rotate over towards the main. And despite the initial shaky start with the fast armory, the Liberator Hellion, they're making it worth their while. They are popping off. Drones are going down left and right. That is going to be 17 worker kills. That is critical damage early on. And now mrTT's all in. He's completely all in. He has to move out across the map. He has to try to get some damage done. Back at home, bunkers are on the way. Tank production has begun as well. Fehlen is getting ready. Lib into the main. Gets more workers. Lib towards the 3rd base. And into the natural. Liberators everywhere. The bunkers are not done. The boys are being pulled. Boys are being pulled. Marauder was sniped. But there's a tank behind this and no Ravagers. Yeah, this time there are no Ravagers. A lot of SCVs are going down, but the tank is now up and running. And Fehlen holds. Fehlen does hold. That was 17 SCVs going down. That is insane. That was a lot of economic damage dealt. But now we have Ravagers on the way. This is a good way to pick away at the wall, pick away at the tank. Because Fehlen lost so many Marines and Marauders in that defense, because they weren't able to get into the bunker in time, this army won't be punished as easily. So mrTT is still in this. So far, his counterattack was successful. He's able to kill a lot of workers. But mrTT does back off. He backs off instead, taking another expansion, droning, getting into better upgrades. Meanwhile, Fehlen, the 3rd CC's late. Now, if mrTT had committed and overextended, I would favor Fehlen, but mrTT backs off and he's droning, and Fehlen, his 3rd base is so delayed. Hellion confirms the upgrades. Ooh, this is a little bit awkward. The third base is almost done in the main, but Fehlen throws down a 3rd CC on location. I mean, this just shows like how desperate Fehlen is to get his economy going. So it's going to be less than ideal. And hopefully he doesn't forget that he has a base on the way. As long as he's mining from both bases, scans the third, sees full saturation. And the game will progress. We're getting into the mid-game. We have a solid Ravager army. mrTT investing into an infestation pit. This I'm not so sure of. This might just be for Roach Ravager Infestor. Just so mrTT can survive against bioaggression. Spire now on the way as well for the mutas. And Fehlen is double expanding. Goes to double expand. Drop moves out. So does the Roach Ravager. There's not actually much at home defense. Because of that, Fehlen might just fall here and now. Drop moves out, but Fehlen is vulnerable. Here comes the Zerg player. Here comes mrT. Headed towards the CC. Planetary is not done. Neither is the orbital. Tank goes down. Another tank as well. There's just not enough of them to defend. And mrT catches Fehlen with his pants down. Drop across the map. Will get some damage done. But it doesn't matter. Not anymore. Yeah, mrT has done it. He's broken through. Third base has been denied. There are 2 bunkers at the natural. But yeah, the main army can just rotate. Meanwhile, the drop across the map, not really getting much done. Getting a handful of workers, but not much else. mrT does turn around. This I'm not so sure of. And he has spotted the planetary. Is where the base is, but mrT playing it safe. Plays it safe, pulls back. This is giving Fehlen the opportunity to bounce back as well. As the SimCity is working against him a little bit, there we go. We'll open up the wall. Saturates the base. Fehlen attempting to stabilize, but honestly, he needs SimCity. He needs bunkers. He needs depots. He needs to wall up and wall off and protect these tanks. A bunker next to the tank is not good enough, as it is still vulnerable to biles. Meanwhile, mrT going for the planetary. And can knock it down. Can and will. Oof. Yeah, the biles are brutal. Base goes down in an instant. Fehlen out of position. mrT gonna try and commit. Again, he just is above the tank. The tank. There we go, the biles, they will connect. Roach Ravager army is being thinned out, but it's still barely out trading Fehlen. And reinforcements come in, mrT backs off, consolidates his army, regroups, and can go in once again. Can hit the third base. Can rock up and hit the third. Alas, there are 2 tanks. There are a handful of tanks ready for this, but that's what the biles are for. Yeah, they knock down the tank. They force a lift on the third TC. And there just isn't much left here. Fehlen didn't have the worst start, but had a hard time just recovering. Third base was far too late. The economy was just far too delayed. And he just can't expand. He just cannot establish these bases. He isn't set up for it. Now, mrT doesn't have to commit into the natural like this. His win condition is just deny the third. Deny the third over and over again. The Vipers will help when it comes to breaking these positions with abducting the tanks. Throwing down the parasitic bombs. There is a lot of potential here for mrT with those Vipers as he's maxing out. Fehlen once again throwing down a ring of bunkers. And again, he does need to wall off these entry points more so than just throwing down bunkers. As this space is still looking very vulnerable. Still looking quite vulnerable. Scan reveals a 4th. mrTT on 4 base economy. 78 workers. Greater Spires on the way. He's moving out once again. And I do think he can break this position. I say that the tank count is getting higher. A decent ring of tanks. But here come the Vipers. And again, their goal should be to abduct or Blinding Cloud. They get 1. They yoink Liberators, which is less than ideal. But they're going for the tanks. Yeah, and there's just not much left. There's 2 more tanks behind this. There are bunkers as well. They can try and hold the line. Oh, and here come the Broodlords. In the face of his opponent, the Broods are on the way. Not like this. Yoinks in 1 more tank. He's running out of Roach Ravager, but the Broodlords are soon to morph in. And there is no good answer for the Broodlords. Here's no good answer. It does him in. Oh, he wants them. He wants the Broods. Do we have any Corruptors? Oh, no Corruptors. The Liberators that will eventually clean up the Broodlords. As they're focusing on the Vipers for the time being. Vipers taking some shots. Broodlords pushing in. And GG gets called. The Terran has been broken. And mrTT does take the series at 2-1. GG. Oh my god. GG, well played. Ooh, a very intense game, or very intense series. Was very back and forth, but in the end here in the final game, mrTT was able to get enough damage, was able to contain his opponents, punish a 3rd base, and get into a more macro setup after, of course, a lot of aggression in the early game. Congratulations. Congratulations. Well played. With that, mrTT will advance on into the next round, where he has his next opponents. And now, finally, we can have a look at the bracket together.